build a community with me around what does it mean to understand Black women's intellectual labor as significant and important in both the education, research, and evaluation fields.
Absolutely. And I love that one of the messaging you often give, which I think could be a really great blueprint for our Latinx, Latinas, the mujeres, as we think of brown and Black alliances we can make, is that you often talk about being an unapologetic Black woman, which I think is something that, our people right now are still starting to embrace, and our younger generations are way better at it than I know my generation was. So I'm so proud of that. But I'm always thankful that you phrase it in that particular way. Like, why are we apologizing for what we work hard for and what we deserve? So I'm very grateful for that. Let us know a little bit too about some of the services that Ubuchu does for the community.
Sure. I think the biggest one that's often overlooked is that we employ Black women to work at a safe environment where they have full-time jobs and benefits that benefit their household and families. But, people overlook the importance of that sometimes. But we also work with a lot of area organizations, including local government, foundations, and nonprofits around their evaluation work. So thinking about all of these initiatives that are set out with ideas of like racial equity and we're going to help communities of color. And it's like, wait, before you make that claim, let us have a chance to look at, do you have a program? Are these outcomes actually tied to what these communities want for themselves? Is there actually systems change? Are these historic institutions owning the harm that they create for any of these communities? What does it look like to actually participate in cultural change and power shifting? Those are the conversations we bring in the evaluation world. And then we also do organizational education. So thinking about your organization that you might work in, no matter what the sector is, it could be a law firm, it could be a trash collection agency, it could be an accounting firm, it could be a nonprofit. But the organization itself is beginning to ask those questions about how do we understand ourselves in terms of this racial equity question that is happening across the country. What work are we doing? What do we need to learn? How have we never talked about it? What does it mean to be in a workplace and no one's ever mentioned race before? So we're working with organizations on that regard as well. And looking forward to just kind of thinking about how the organization's able to grow and more people are open to talking about these things in more tangible ways. But to boil it all down to one thing, like our responsibility or our service to the community is to speak truth to power. How do we say like, yo, this is an opportunity for you to show up differently, to be held accountable differently, and we're waiting for you to do it. And so we can provide evidence back to the community that proves that you're actually doing that.
And thank you so much for that work, because often the evaluation part is overlooked. We get so passionate, we want that change. However, when we're looking at it from the bureaucratic red tape era, that's really where they catch people. And a lot of people get swayed and feeling like there's going to be no change because, we talk about, you need this survey, you need that tool. And the fact that your organization is willing to empower stakeholders in the community, I think it's something that really could be a huge change agent as we're trying to get more people to want to do different things and really approach their city in a different way. So very, very grateful for that work. Let us know a little bit about some of the resources and programs that you all have that the community can utilize. I know you mentioned, some of the work that you do. Let us know some more details. If I wanted to reach out to you, what are some of the things that you could offer my organization or my resident group?
Yeah, we work a lot with community groups, especially community groups who are trying to figure out what do they do now that they're at a certain point, right? Either a large community transformation is happening, or there is a new elected official, or you have a new organization or a new pot of money. We are really helpful with communities at that point to say, like, let's help you strategize. Let's help you think about the best ways to use the resources that you have, or to think in more intentional ways about how to redistribute some of the resources your community has access to. Another thing that we do is working with young people, being able to help young people to bring their critical issues into the limelight in terms of how do we move it from an idea or something we feel into something that's actionable, that the adults around them are responding to, that is engaging the system as it impacts their daily lives. And that could be everything from healthy eating options, to so many things related to schools and education and how they're treated, could be mental health. But we think about those opportunities with young people to be some of the most significant and important, because if we can talk to them at 12, 13, 14, who knows where they are when they're at 28, 29, 30 in terms of being able to talk about these critical issues. We also, I think one of our biggest easiest ways to access us, because sometimes people don't have the organizational budget, is to really engage our social media. So you can, on YouTube, you can see a lot of our talks and lectures and webinars. We share also on Instagram and Facebook often of like, here's what's going on, or here's how we can engage, or here's what's new in terms of something that we've learned or read about, or really think that would be important for someone else to know. So I think there's a lot of ways to engage with us as an individual, but also to engage your organization or community with us if they would like to learn some more.
Beautiful. And thank you for reminding us about, some of the things that you're sharing on social media. Again, because of the pandemic, one of the random things that happened, I think more people are looking to access these types of topics and information and empower themselves. So I'm really grateful for that. And I know it's something I often follow and share whenever I can. Again, right now SOC is celebrating Women's History Month, and I think your organization is a great example of women making history in our city right now, which so grateful for. One of our community organizers and our program manager, Gabe Charles, had mentioned a session she had actually attended with you, which was regarding the idea of dignity in the beloved community. We were hoping if you could teach our viewers a little bit about what that means to you.
Oh, absolutely. I could talk about these concepts for hours. Okay, so stop me when it's time to.
I won't. Our producer might. I won't, but.
Well, I think one of the most important things that we need to consider as people of color who are building solidarity across communities is what it means for us to respect, protect, and fulfill a sense of dignity for ourselves and those who we want to build community and solidarity with, right? This world was not meant for Black people, Indigenous folks, brown people to survive, right? And so if we're in a world that wasn't meant for us to survive, how do we begin to even conceptualize not only our survival, but our ability to thrive, flourish, and most importantly, be a part of the future? And I think that's what conversations around dignity really help us to understand. There's a rich history about it when you start looking at how colonialism has sort of taken dignity as this idea that they use to fundamentally understand the world. You look at the Universal Declaration for Human Rights, it's all about topics of dignity. You can think about in South Africa with the fight for apartheid was all about dignity. When you think about the Berlin Wall falling in East and West Germany, it was all about dignity. And if there's about, last I checked, about 200 countries have dignity written into their constitution. The United States is not one of them, right? Yeah, and so if we're talking about like, what does it mean to create a country or a nation state founded around an idea? You can know everything you need to know about the US just because of that, right? So like there is no intention to wanting to protect what it means to be human and what it means to show up and be in community. That's not what this country was founded on. And so we use dignity as a concept that we constantly check ourselves against, right? Am I acknowledging who you are as you say you are? Am I respecting all it takes for you to show up and be your best self every day? Am I giving you access to what you need, not only to survive, not just to thrive, but to flourish? Am I seeing you capable as being the most excellent human being in the world, no matter what mistakes you might have done? Do I see room for you to actually say, hey, this is who I am, this is why I am, and this is how I want you to, treat me because of it? And I think that dignity is wrapped deeply into this abolitionist framework of like, what does it mean for us to see ourselves not only free, not only not constrained, but also in a space of accountability and forgiveness and ongoing development with one another. And so dignity is sort of that box. I don't even say box. It's more of the fertilized ground that we believe is really necessary for us to have healthy relationships with one another. And the beloved community becomes the container that we're able to practice dignity within, right? Because if we aren't able to be in the practice of beloved community, all of these solidarity efforts, equity initiatives, justice walks are for nothing. They become performance, right? And so the beloved community is really a space in which we can, one, see each other as making mistakes and understanding that there's generative conflicts and tensions that we need to engage if we're going to grow together as community members, to be able to understand the practice of love as, and I think there was such a great quote one of my team members shared with us today about the practice of love and centering our friendships as the most loving relationships that we have, and what happens when we change the dynamic of society, where the romantic ones aren't the prioritized ones, or the biological ones aren't the prioritized ones, but the ones that we choose become the most prioritized loving relationships. And so the beloved community is just this ongoing practice of understanding, like, what do I need to do to understand tensions with you and difference, and how do we build ourselves towards being closer together in terms of accountability, and in terms of forgiveness, and in terms of us seeking out a more liberated relationship between each other. And it's not for us to all think the same. It's not for us to all have the same behaviors. It's for us to really engage that, like, this is different, and what does it mean when we rub up against each other? Can we both come out knowing more, being more attuned, more accepting, and more radically open to what it means to practice this thing called humanity? And so those concepts become really foundational for what it means for us at Ubuntu to engage this work as educators, facilitators, and evaluators. And then it extends very easily into our community work, how we show up with family, how we show up at any of the events, such as the protests and marches that have been going on. Like, we have to hold those things as paramount and not just episodic things that we worry about one day and leave the next. Like, this is something that we think about all the time. So it, to me, is just fundamental. It's the necessary fertilizer that we need to create the world that we want. And we know we're not there, so we need to at least create the space where we start practicing it if we're actually going to get to a more liberated relationship, a more liberated world, a more liberated system in which we're working in.
Wow, and thank you so much for the way that you frame it as being, you know, the beloved community kind of being the framework around that kind of fertilized grass. Because, I mean, there is a lot of divisions, especially in the Latinx community right now. Mm-hmm. And I think the last kind of election kind of showed us how many different divisions that we have going on now. But to be able to still say and come together and think of self, and think of that self-love, and think of ways to bridge out. And like you said earlier, it's not just about, you know, that, you know, the family blood. It's not just about, you know, romantic, but choosing that. And I think that's something that a lot of us, I think, especially as women of color, are slowly coming around to, but really can be empowered by. And I know, you know, I'm in my 40s now. It's something that I think I've been working on since my 30s. But, you know, really, there is just peace of mind there. And there really is just that, you know, I've built my own sense of self and my own confidence. But you know, there's so much work I know we have to do, and I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing. So, and I'm thankful to be a part of your beloved community. I know you're definitely a part of mine. So I really do love that. Do you have any calls to action? You're always doing so many great jobs, work. We always like to make sure that our viewers are in tune and know what's going on. And especially in a pandemic, it's hard to get all the info. Do you have any calls to action or things that you would like to let our viewers know today, just so we can make sure that we're following, connecting with the work you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I'm in such great community with people who are organizing all the time that there's always things to point to. This weekend, we're talking about trans visibility awareness. So you have a march and a lot of things happening virtually, including a huge fundraiser to support trans women, some of the things that they need in terms of their mutual aid efforts and their ability to connect with folks across the nation. So plugging that and that march, and I'll make sure to share that on our social media page as well. And then I'm always plugging Love on Black Women.
Yes.
Which is the effort started by Shavonda Simpson to provide emergency funds to Black women, especially single mothers and other Black marginalized genders who need support. And we've seen how important having those types of systems independent from the large nonprofits have been during the pandemic, right? And I'm also a huge shout out to all the local mutual aid efforts and all of the support that they continue to need. I know, like, as the media is trying to sell to us that, like, kind of the pandemic's over, it's like some of these efforts are not getting the same amount of support that they once were. So making sure that we plug all those efforts across the city, because the need's still there. People still need that support. Those donations are still helping tons of people. So always wanting to remind people of that.
Thank you, and thank you for reminding us of that. I'm actually going to be helping drop off some of that mutual aid tomorrow for that march as well. I have to talk to Wendy and Zal later, but I know that that was something that was asked for, and I just want to let our viewers know, like, if you want to get involved or help, I know Dr. Liston, if you can put later in our private chat, we can add it to our comments to Love on Black Women, that link to that. Would love to share that. I know that's something I always want to give and make sure that we uplift. And also let everybody know, like, whether it's donate, whether it's march, whether it is just dropping off mutual aid for one family, all of it matters, and especially in these times. So grateful. I want to peek at our comments. I know we do have contact information, and we do have Ubuchu's information there. Thank you for adding that link. I'm going to get the link for loveandblackwomen.com in there as well. Stacy Carlo says hello, one of our gold fellows. She's part of our Grassroots Organizing Leadership Development Institute. So just amazing, super fan. I don't see any questions right now, but we will let our viewers know if they can always follow up later, and this will be on our Facebook page. But we're always just so grateful for you and how accessible you are. And thank you for reminding me to drink water and to do some of those things. I know, let's take a sip right now. Salud. Because I know I'm definitely guilty of forgetting that sometimes. So thank you for just always being an inspiration and helping. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with you soon, and hopefully our paths can cross safely soon as well.
Yes, I definitely.
Maybe tomorrow, who knows?
Maybe, right? Maybe.
I'm fangirling. I'll be like, I'll be the one in the mask doing this. That's how you know. Thank you so much, Dr. Liston. You're incredible. Can't wait to connect with you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. See you soon.
All right.
And Stacey Carlos said a gallon. Yes, definitely. Having so much water. I know I'm absolutely reminding myself so much, and living at home, it's definitely important to have. Again, thank you for Dr. Liston. All the contact information you'll find in our contacts. In our comments. And please, if you're able to join for the process tomorrow, I know you can find some information as well on Facebook. Up next, we're going to go ahead and have our public health coordinator, Marlene Zoran, join us for a COVID-19 numbers update.
Hello, everybody. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a COVID-19 numbers update. Give me a second while I share my screen with you all. Okay, some internet connection happening there. Give me a second here. All right. So far, if we're looking at the Milwaukee Public Health Department's COVID-19 statistics dashboard, it was last updated at 3 p.m. today. So, you know, that's the most recent data that they have for us. Currently, if we look at race and ethnicity, the Black or African American community has looks like all of the communities are around the same for the number of cases. So white community, Hispanic, Latino, Latinx community, all three are at 29%, give or take. The highest being the Black or African American community at 29.8% of cases. And then fourth, you'll have the Asian community at 4.8% of cases. Those that are unknown is 3.5%. Those that are other are 2.2%. The Native or Native Indian, American Indian, or Alaska Native are at 0.5% of total cases. If you are multiple cases, those are individuals that are at 0.4%. And then Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander is at 0.2% of total cases. So now I'm going to go on the map and show you guys the current numbers for Milwaukee based on zip code. So if you can see here, wow, actually last week, this was all green here, and now it's starting to get a little bit more yellow. So that means it's on the higher end. If we look at our districts for SOCs zip codes that we're currently looking at, the 53204 zip code has 33 total cases, and the 53215 zip code has 47 total cases. 53221 has 31 cases, and 53208 has 24 cases. It's looking like there are some cases that are arising, but hopefully with individuals getting vaccinated, we can change that. And you can definitely find the link to this on our Facebook comments. So in the Facebook comments, you'll see the link to the Public Health Department's dashboard where you can find all of these numbers on there that I just shared. And you can also find links to where you can get registered through the Milwaukee Public Health Department to get your COVID vaccine, and through Hyatt Pharmacy. So those are definitely important to know. I'm gonna go right into our community resource that I have for you guys for today. And today we're actually promoting our COVID-19 committee that we're going to host our second meeting this Saturday at 1 p.m. Essentially, this is going to be a platform for the Southsiders of Milwaukee to come together with leaders and stakeholders in the community. And we're going to center and support the leadership of residents. And second to that, the COVID-19 committee serves to continue to bridge the Latino OAX community members and resident association members to nonprofits that serve these communities, which allows both parties to break down barriers of health and misconceptions about COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccine. So this will be this Saturday through, it will be through Zoom. And once you register using the registration link that we'll have in the comment section, you can definitely join us and give us your feedback on so many things. So for this meeting, what we're going to be doing is going over current marketing strategies that a lot of nonprofits are using around Milwaukee. So we have a partnership with 16th Street Clinic and the United Community Center, and we're going to be sharing with community members and neighborhood members some marketing criteria and marketing videos and of that sort that we need your feedback on before we continue to distribute it, because it's important to hear your voice and hear what you think about these documents before moving forwards. And then we're going to allow our neighbors to become leaders within our community through this COVID committee, so we can work together to disseminate information about any upcoming events that are happening, any resident association events that are happening. We can work together to do that. So, and SOC is also working on mask distribution as well. So if you'd like to know how to do that within your community, definitely register for the COVID committee so you can start to help out with that and distribute those masks. We also have the flyer in Spanish as well. And we did share that on our Facebook page. So you can definitely go right to our Facebook page, scroll a little bit down, and you'll find the flyer right there for you. And that is my community resource and COVID update for today. Thank you.
And thank you so much to our public health coordinator, Marlene Zaran, for that COVID-19 update. And yes, we do have the link for all of you to register for the COVID-19 committee. And like she stated, we do have the flyers online. Don't forget, you'll be put up for a chance for a raffle to get a $50 gift card. And really, it's a really easy, quick way to have your voice heard as SOC continues to make sure that every resident has a voice, vote, and vehicle. We have one tomorrow. They're virtual, and I will definitely be a part of that conversation tomorrow. So I'm excited to hear what residents have to say and making sure our organizations in charge of COVID are actually listening to everyone here. Really, really great guests coming up next week. We're really excited. Definitely a full week. Monday, we'll have Jonathan Zuniga. He's a Deputy Election Commissioner. He'll be talking about the April 6th election. We hope that your absentee ballot is in. Otherwise, there is early voting. Later on in the week, we'll also have Karina Belen Blas Rodriguez. She's coming from the Consulado Mexicano. And then later on, we'll have Dr. Arana returning from 16th Street Clinic to give us a very important update as well. Excited to see you all soon. We're very thankful for all of you. Be safe, be well. Bye-bye.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.